All right, good morning, everybody. It is Easter Sunday on April Fool's Day 2018, and I'm Francisco, or known as FJOJR on YouTube. So good morning, and I've got my two friends once again doing the Sports Goofs podcast number 2. First, we'll introduce DampFrijoles, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. Happy Passover to all who celebrate.
Ah, that's right.
And happy April Fools. Don't get pranked.
Yeah, just don't go online today. If you want any serious news, please. And we got our friend DougieSoles. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter, happy Passover, happy April Fools. Don't believe anything you read today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get things started off with a April Fool's thing, I suppose. The Kansas City Royals tweeted that, quote, today's game has been postponed due to the bitter cold and expected snow accumulation this afternoon. And everyone thought that it was an April Fool's joke because of how weird that sounded. But apparently, they actually are canceling their game for this afternoon.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, heading off of that, apparently Anthony Davis has shaved his unibrow.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I actually wanted to show that, too.
Yeah, and everybody's like, wait, is this for real or is this April Fool's? It looks real to me. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but definitely surprising.
Yeah, it was he was it on Instagram post or something they put?
Yeah, it was an Instagram post, video on Instagram.
Or yeah, I guess it was on Twitter too, but and people are like upset. They're really, really upset about it.
Really?
Yeah, because how could you mess with? That was his thing,
It's a unibrow. His thing is being an excellent basketball player.
But it's his icon.
I guess.
Well, let's go to the Anthony Davis Twitter. There it is. There he is, right there.
Yep.
So.
About to make a drastic change in my life. Want you guys to be a part of it. This is something I've been thinking about for a while.
I'll be honest, he still looks like Anthony Davis either way.
Yeah.
You guys might know what this is.
Oh my God.
You definitely know what this is. Like I said, it's a big change something I've been thinking about, but here we go.
No, because I was reading about it on Reddit, people are saying that this video is just for show, that he didn't actually do it in this video because his brows look too professionally done.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And with the big razor going down like that.
Yeah.
My bad, guys.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, obviously, because if he went straight down with that razor,
Y'all tell me what y'all think of it.
Yeah, if he
it's a big change.
if he went straight down, it would have not been a good look. So, but either way, he definitely.
Y'all tell me, big moment,
it, so,
new
hey, good for him, man.
new brows. Let's get it.
Okay.
The unibrow is no more.
Hopefully I'm hoping they make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, they'll be a fun team to watch for sure. And Anthony Davis is a beast, so it'll be great watching him with the playoff run.
So, the Kansas City Royals have canceled their games, and everybody thought it was fake.
Yeah.
And here's one more thing. We're still within the first few minutes here. We still got time for this. But I stumbled across. I can't believe I haven't found this earlier. But if you guys haven't seen, I'll show you right here. It's the Captain Andrew Luck Twitter account.
Yes. I love that.
Where he is basically, they basically have him like as if he's like a Civil War general.
Oh, really?
And basically writing to his family back from the front lines. The latest one was let's see, March 27th. Dearest Mother, I write with glorious news. I have been indeed practicing with my sidearm in live rounds. I shall be battle ready once more. I know this news is bittersweet, as you worry about your boy, but a good captain must be in the fray with his men. I miss you, Andrew. And then a bit of a Dolphins talk here. Like, dearest mother, Lieutenant Gore has departed the unit. While I shall miss our frank discussions, he confided in me with his wish to one day swim with the Dolphins. He shall be missed. Onward, Andrew.
Oh man, this is amazing. I'm looking at it now, and the way they have his picture with his beard, how it is perfect.
A deal has been made between our unit and the Jetmen of New York for new soldier selections. While the Jetmen shall select first among the tenderfoots, we shall cut a wider swath. Satisfied, Andrew.
Whoever is running this account is absolutely brilliant. I need to follow this account now. I had no idea this was a thing.
I don't know, it was just somebody tweeted it and I finally found it. I'm like, this is just hilarity. Glorious day. It appears the unit will have a new general soon. Frank Reich shall take command. His Eagles were the ultimate victor last campaign. Now the time has come to shed his feathers and attach some horseshoes. Invigorating. Andrew. That's great.
Oh man, this is amazing.
Yeah, this makes light more of the no fun league. So if you're ever on Twitter, just check out the Captain Andrew Luck Twitter account. And next time I'll have another Twitter account I want to share. That's pretty funny. Just these parody accounts, which are just hilarious.
Yeah, the Captain Andrew Luck Twitter account is gold. Absolute gold.
General Pagano is the last one. General Pagano has indeed been relieved of his command. 'Twas best for the unit. The decision does not reflect the soldiers' respect and compassion for the man, but inspiration needed to be renewed. Confident, Andrew.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Pagano. So yeah, that's the Captain Andrew Luck account.
I wish I could be that creative and witty, but I can't. That is awesome.
So that's some hilarity there from the Captain Andrew Luck, the guy that the Dolphins should have tanked for, but didn't. Okay, so that's the first few minutes here. So I guess we'll move on to our first big topic on a national news story. And it's probably the news story of the last month, that's for sure. And as we creep into April and tomorrow's championship game, so that's March Madness. Yesterday was the Final Four, and we finally got our championship matchup between Villanova and Michigan. To my greatest ire, Michigan is in the final.
For those who may not recall, Francisco is an undergrad alum of FSU who Michigan beat. I want to say in the Sweet 16.
No, the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight.
They were the. I mean, FSU played badly. They played pretty sloppily. There were a lot of turnovers, and they just weren't. If they had cut down on their turnovers, I think they could have won. So it wasn't like they lost by 4, so it wasn't like we were blown out. If we had just played with a little more focus and less panic, then I think we could have beaten them and been in our first Final Four since like the 70s. But unfortunately, I blamed it on one of our friends from FIU. His name is Josh. I won't say his last name, Josh, because he's actually he also went to FSU for undergrad, but his family is from Michigan, and he has his allegiances to both schools. So I blamed him for it because he had to choose a side. He can't be on the fence, and he because of that, the college basketball gods didn't have enough power in FSU's favor. So I blame him, and then, it's all his fault.
He's had a very rough couple of years because a couple of seasons ago was Florida State and Michigan in the Orange Bowl.
Yes. Yeah, well, we beat them then, so I guess it evens out. But as long as they lose, I'll be fine. Villanova can take it again. But I guess we'll start with the first round. I've got this bracket here. It's from sportslogos.net. And it's pretty cool college basketball court bracket that they've got here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about with like any surprises? I know, Doug, that kind of disappointed you.
Yeah. This bracket was full of surprises. Like I did a bracket in my South region of the bracket. I got 4 out of 15 right. So it was full of surprises this year. UM got the lucky first round draw against Loyola Chicago in the first round. They lost by 2. I wasn't surprised. Honestly, I should have picked Loyola because UM all year has been very inconsistent. So it wasn't too much of a shocker. But Loyola just went on a run after that, and they beat Tennessee, they beat Nevada, they beat Kansas State, up until Michigan. So it was a impressive run for them. It wasn't a difficult run, I must say. The way the Southern bracket was lined up with the teams, the actual teams that were there. You had Virginia, you had Kentucky, and then that was pretty much your blue bloods for college basketball.
Yeah.
So Loyola, they went far, but I feel like they didn't beat the competition that other teams had to face. But still, it was an impressive run nonetheless. Like it's a high pressure environment, so you still gotta win those tough, tight games, and they did it. So my hat's off to them.
I have 4 letters for you. UMBC.
Yeah. They're
first round for UMBC.
They, for those who don't know, University of Maryland at Baltimore County, the Retrievers. They just shocked the sports world. They took out not just the number 1 seed, the number one seed in Virginia. Absolutely just blew them out.
Yeah.
No one was expecting it.
It was probably the biggest upset of all time in March Madness. I remember we were watching.
Yeah.
We were watching another game on TV, because while we were going to tune to Virginia versus UMBC, we knew who was going to win. So I can't remember what game we were watching, but we're watching another game, and you know how they have like the score tracker on the top? As you're watching the game, you could check the scores of the other teams. I saw that UMBC was killing Virginia in the second half. I was like, oh my goodness, we need to put that game on right now. We switched, and it was amazing to witness.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I remember I didn't watch the game like the first round because I knew because Florida State's in the first round. I don't like watching the first round because I'm like, man, I really do not want to be disappointed. So I didn't watch them face off against Missouri. But I was tired, whatever, and it was late at night, and I'm seeing like the tweets, like UMBC. I'm like, what's happening? What's going on here? And I'm reading up like they are facing off against the number 1. This is number 16, like almost the lowest of the low, against the number 1 team in the country, as you said before, Doug. And it's just they beat them. They just, and the beauty of this is that the Virginia Cavaliers from now on, until they win, I don't know, a national championship in like football or basketball, they're never going to live it down. So
I don't think they're ever going to live it down, no matter how well they do.
I mean, the only way is if they win the national championship next year and just like make everyone forget it. But definitely going to be a lot of jokes about them once college football season starts, because it's just like, your school is so pathetic. You guys can't even beat. You guys are the number 1 team in the country. You guys can't even beat it. The most embarrassing loss in probably college basketball.
Luckily, they don't have to face Baker Mayfield on the football next year, because he can't even trash talk the fans. He would say, "Oh, hey, go watch basketball." Oh wait, never mind. Your team loses to UMBC.
Oh boy, that's gonna be great. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait for man. If there's a college game day where like Virginia is on the road against somebody and ESPN is there or whatever, I can't wait
the
to see
signs?
the signs. Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna
I'm
be
pretty
amazing.
sure they're gonna be a ton poking fun at them. Probably somebody will bring their dog, the golden retriever. It's like a fleet of golden retrievers.
An armada of golden retrievers.
Exactly. That'll
Sorry,
be great.
Sharksville. We love you.
So great. Loyola Chicago it was great. It was great. They had like their jersey on the Jordan statue outside the United Center in Chicago.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. That was nice.
They were the talk of the town. They had Sister Jean, the 98-year-old nun that was basically their team mascot for this entire run. It sucks that they lost, but you know, Cinderella run has to end at some point.
Yeah, and apparently, they're not nobodies. From what I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they have won the men's championship before in basketball.
I think it was in 1968, if I remember correctly.
Right. Yeah. So they've got the pedigree. They've got the pedigree. So who knows? Maybe next year will be their year.
They could turn into another Butler, maybe.
Yeah, another Butler. One of the small schools, the Butlers, the Xaviers, the Villanovas, Gonzaga. Yep.
I'll just say though that UMBC, Loyola, what they did this year is they, in a year where everyone's talking like, oh, the UCFs, these lower schools, the non-Power 5 schools, they don't belong in tournaments and stuff. You'd be amazed.
Crazy.
Seen. There was one person on Twitter who suggested that teams that are not in the Power 5, so that's the Atlantic, that's the ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, and Pac-12. Teams that are not in those conferences should not be in the national championship in March Madness.
That's quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
True.
I mean,
so it's
I can understand if this was football in a way, and not even then. But basketball is just a whole different animal when it comes to just the competitive balance of teams. Anybody can beat anybody, as we've seen.
That's the beauty of March Madness.
Mhm.
It's the reason people watch.
And that's why UCF fans and fans in general, they want the college football playoff to expand to allow the Cinderella teams in, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, if college football had a second round, where it'd just be like the NFL, just have a divisional round, let's say, and then have a championship conference or whatever round, and obviously it would create more opportunities for sponsorship, because the NCAA loves its money, without paying their athletes. If you guys want to hear about that in our first episode, where we talked about non-payment of college athletes. But yeah, it would be an opportunity for that too.
Yeah, but you've got going back to college basketball, Villanova won the championship in 2016, and they're not one of those power conferences. So, it's, like you said, Francisco, it's the beauty of March Madness.
It's probably the greatest playoff in sports.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
It allows the Cinderella teams to at least make a run at a title.
And it's like the time of the fans of those teams, and it's like the time of their lives. Like, it's so fun, like, to actually be on the national stage, to be talked about, to go up against the Giants and go blow for blow, and these heavyweight bouts in March Madness. It's an amazing story.
So, other than that, what do you guys? Anything else to say about it?
I don't know. I mean,
what predictions for the championship?
I've never filled out a March Madness bracket just because A, I know I'm going to fail, and B, I prefer rooting for the underdog without having any anything riding on it. That being said, I really want Villanova to win. The underdog spirit is in me.
I feel like Michigan's firing on all cylinders at the right time. They ended their regular season strong. They won the Big Ten championship to end the year. They've got all the momentum, and I think Michigan takes the championship game. That's my prediction.
I'll probably go with Villanova. I'm pretty sure there's some of their older like juniors and seniors are holdovers from that last championship. So some of them have been there before, have been at this stage, and they've been doing pretty well against their competition. So I would say, as far as them making it round by round, I think they've overall done pretty well. So I would go with Villanova for experience and just overall play over Michigan, and not because I'm a bitter FSU fan, but that's also part of it. All right, so that's our predictions. The two Villanovas and the Michigan. All right.
We'll see eating crow tomorrow evening.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And all my predictions have been wrong thus far, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong again.
Well, we'll find out in a few weeks when we get to our next episode. So, all right. So that's it for March Madness. It's been pretty fun. I think this one was probably one of the better ones we've seen in a while, as far as the upsets and the storylines. Yeah. Probably one of the more fun ones we've had. Yeah. Obviously, if Villanova has another finish like they did the last time they won, it's going to be great.
No, absolutely. It'll be one to watch for sure.
Okay, so we're going to move on to my first topic. We're 20 minutes in, and this is my topic that I want to talk about, because it's something that I've been thinking about for the longest time. In the NBA, I don't know so much so in the NHL or the NFL or Major League Baseball, but it's the doing away of the Eastern and Western Conference and basically ranking each team from 1 through 16 as far as playoff seeding is concerned, regardless of where they are in regionally. Okay.
Is that rumored or is that confirmed?
It's not. It's I don't know. I think the NBA owners have to all agree to it, and it's something that's a little tough for some of them to decide, especially if you're an Eastern Conference NBA owner, because what's going to happen is there are some terrible teams in the Eastern Conference.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but this year's NBA, for the longest time, the Eastern Conference has been weaker than the Western Conference. This year, there's a little more parity. The bottom West teams are kind of on par with the bottom East teams this year. So the NBA is done a little better with that, or at least the teams are playing a little better than they used to be. I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s, it was not even close how terrible the Eastern Conference was compared to the Western Conference. And so this is part of the for me, it's all about fairness. So I'm gonna show right now, as you can see, there's a map with the locations of all these NBA teams, from the Heat and all the way down to South Florida, the Raptors in Canada, to the Blazers up northwest, and then all the 4 California teams. So I'll have the NBA standings right here. So this is. Let me interact with this a little bit. So as you can see, I've pulled up the rankings here on ESPN. So we've got the number one team in all of the NBA are the Houston Rockets. They've got the best record, and so if this is the way things would be looking like if the NBA's playoff structure wasn't Eastern Conference and Western Conference, where the best 8 teams from the East and the best 8 teams from the West go to the playoffs, and then each conference will have it out to declare a victor and have the 2 conference winners face off in the NBA Finals. So the Houston Rockets would be number 1, and so then we count down. Number 2 would be the Golden State Warriors. Number 3 would be the Toronto Raptors. Then 4 would be the Boston Celtics. 5, the Portland Trail Blazers. So they would be ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are a 3 seed in the East. Then you have the 76ers at 7. 8 would be the Indiana Pacers. So those would be the teams that would have home court advantage in the first round. Followed by the Pacers would face off against the Spurs. The Sixers would face off against the Wolves. And could you imagine that series? These 2 young teams that are just like going to hit their stride soon. The Wolves versus the Sixers in the first round. That'd be exciting.
That would be a great series right there.
Okay, then you could have the Thunder versus the Cavaliers. Westbrook versus LeBron. Okay?
That'd be fun.
That would be fun. Then you have the Jazz against the Blazers. And then, so that would be the Jazz against the Blazers, followed by the Pelicans against the Celtics, then the Wizards versus the Raptors, then the Bucks versus the Warriors, so the Greek Freak against the Warriors, and then finally the Clippers and the Rockets. So under this format, you'd have the best 16 teams going at it. And our Miami Heat would probably be out of it. Well, they'd be fighting right now for that last spot with the Nuggets and the Clippers. But I think this would be a much more fair format. You would actually have the victor, like really be the victor out here, because for the longest time, the Western Conference probably had the best teams. And like the Houston Rockets could probably face off against the Golden State Warriors, let's say, in the NBA Finals, which I think would be a really great test of who really is the best team in the world.
Now, the thing I find interesting is how are they going to determine who plays whom? Because usually, at least with conferences, you play, every team in your conference X amount of times, and then you have a rotating schedule of who you play in the other conference.
Yeah, that would be something they'd have to decide as far as how they would schedule the NBA regular season. Unless they find a way to even it out completely and maybe have a certain team that you would face off against a little more to build like a rivalry. So like the Miami Heat would face off a few more times against the Orlando Magic because they would be rivals. But that may not work entirely because some teams really don't have any rivals, like a certain rival, because they're not regionally the same. Or like the Texas teams, the Spurs and the Mavericks. There's only 3 of them, and they would all be rivals against each other.
Right.
Or the 4 California teams, the same thing. So it'd be a little tricky with regards to how the regular season would be played out, but the playoff format would be that way.
Yeah.
The issue would be the NBA owners from the Eastern Conference, especially. They at the very least wouldn't want to lose the 2 home games at least they would get if in the case of a sweep. Because that's 2 more games. They jack up the prices for playoff games, and that's 2 more games if they lose. If they go under this format. So the Miami Heat, I'm sure Mickey Harrison wouldn't like it that we would lose out basically on a tiebreaker to the Los Angeles Clippers under this format, where the Heat are a 7 seed, I think, right now, under the current format.
Yeah, I mean, I stand with LeBron on this issue. He's against removing conferences and playoffs. He believes that it changes the history and the landscape of the game, and I agree. I like the whole East versus West thing. It's what I grew up with. There's been a lot of great rivalries over the years between Eastern and Western Conference teams, in the finals. And I believe LeBron said that, it's a cyclical thing. Sometimes, one decade you'll have the Western Conference as a dominant conference. Next decade you'll have the Eastern Conference as a dominant conference. So I understand the fairness thing. It is the logical thing, but I just prefer how it is now. I feel like the Eastern and Western conferences have their own separate identities. Like right now, the Western Conference is like the high-flying, high-scoring, exciting, offensive basketball conference. And the Eastern Conference, you don't really have the big names, but you have so many gritty, like blue-collar teams. And I like that dynamic between the two conferences. So, I understand the fairness aspect, and, it is a valid argument, but my preference would be to keep the identities of the Eastern and Western Conference.
Yeah, I get that. That you wouldn't get the Lakers Celtics rivalry as much.
Right. Exactly.
And
so,
obviously LeBron's been a beneficiary of this format.
True. He is a biased party, that's for sure.
Because the last 4 seasons, well, actually not even since he went to Miami.
Yeah, he's been in the conference finals or in the NBA finals every single year. So yeah, he's definitely the beneficiary of it for sure.
Because look at this. I mean, right now the Cavaliers they'd have home court, but they wouldn't be a high seed. They'd be the number 6 seed.
Mhm.
And I mean, you could split the playoff format where it'd be basically like college basketball. You have the number ones on 2 sides and split it that way. So the 2 number ones would be Houston and Golden State.
Mhm.
And then they would basically funnel down from there. Or you could do like the NHL does and have the reseeding, where whoever is the higher seed will get the home court from there on. But that's just an idea that I think would be interesting. Just for an experiment. You could do it for like 2 or 3 seasons. See if it's anything interesting. Maybe you could get some pretty exciting playoff chances, and then who knows? Or they could just, if anything, they just go back to the old way. But
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Maybe it's something. I don't necessarily know how the G League playoffs are. The G League is the NBA's developmental league or their minor league. But if it's the same current format, Eastern versus Western teams, maybe they can experiment down there first. If they don't already do
That's
it,
true.
See how it goes and use that as a trial run.
Yeah.
So that will be an opportunity right there to test it. And, if it works, then maybe they should, implement it at, the NBA level.
Okay.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not. That's what Major League Baseball does, or I think the NHL does it too with the American Hockey League. They try out some stuff.
Do the rule changes at the lower level, see how it works, and if it's successful, then bring it up to the majors.
All right. So that's I think that's enough with the NBA conference talk. It's just an interesting idea that would be a nice experiment in the future. But the NBA playoff races right now, I think the Heat are settled in on their position, so they're good. They'll obviously make the playoffs this season, which will be great, especially if we get one more run out of Dwayne Wade before he retires.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll move on to the next topic, and that is the NHL playoff races. Andrew, I believe you would like to take the head on this conversation, so go ahead.
Sure. Well, as you can see in the picture there, that's the Lightning versus the Boston Bruins there. The Lightning, well, let me just give a quick overview. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 slots have been punched out of the 16 total playoff slots. You've got Nashville, Boston, Tampa, Vegas. Big story. Go back to last episode if you want to hear more about that. Winnipeg, Toronto, Washington, and Pittsburgh are all in the playoffs. And Vegas has done the unthinkable. They have done history. They are the first team in any North American sport to win their division in their first year of existence.
That's super
So
impressive.
that is tremendous. They won last night, which clinched the division for them, the Pacific Division. So now there are tons of teams that have been eliminated. And I apologize that I'm pausing so much. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I have a bit of a stuffy nose, making it hard for me to breathe.
If he passes out, we'll just move on.
Yeah.
Well, the technical difficulties thing on the beep.
So right now, if for anyone that doesn't know how the NHL playoff system is structured,
and Andrew, I've got the standings up on the screen there. So I mean, you can start with the Eastern Conference, as
sure.
I've got it there, and then I can scroll down to the Western Conference after that.
So what happens is 3 teams from each division. Each conference is made up of 2 divisions. The top 3 teams from each division automatically make it, and then the top 2 remaining teams, the wild cards, advance as well. And that's from either division in the conference. So for the Eastern, the Atlantic Division, all three of their automatic slots have been taken: Boston, Tampa, and Toronto. Florida, the Panthers, they're in the running for the wild card slot.
It's not looking good.
Time is fading fast for them. Over in the Metropolitan, Washington and Pittsburgh have clinched. They're still waiting for one other team to get that 3rd slot. And then there are, in total, 4 teams actually in the running for either the automatic slot or for the wild card slot out of the Metropolitan. In the West, there's a lot more parity in the Western Conference just in general. So Nashville and Winnipeg, they've clinched. Vegas has clinched. So now we're waiting on 3 other teams to fill out the playoff slot in the West. Right now, Nashville is in the lead for the President's Trophy, which is the team with the best record in the regular season, which is a big. That's a big story, at least in my end. I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, and they've kind of, I won't say tanked, but
they've lost steam.
Yeah, they've gone on a cold streak recently. Sounds like someone else is sick.
What? Oh, I mean, I guess that might be my computer that sounds sick.
But yeah, they were in the President's Trophy lead, and they seemed unstoppable, but they've kind of gone on a cold streak recently. In their last 10 games, they're 5-5, whereas Nashville, who currently has the lead, is 6-3-1. So hopefully Tampa picks up the pace a little bit more, but
they've actually been surpassed by Boston.
They have been surpassed by Boston as well. And I was looking at their record, seeing what happened, and I'm realizing that if you could scroll in or expand on Tampa's record more specifically.
Okay.
They're a very all or nothing team. If you look at Boston above them, They have 11 overtime losses, which are each loss in overtime or shootout is worth 1 point. Tampa's very all or nothing. They only have 4 of those type wins. So they either win or they lose in regulation.
Yeah, let me look at their schedule here. Let's see. So this is their entire schedule. But let's look at their stuff lately. I might have to reload this. Hold on. So let me try and reload it. Let's go to Tampa Bay Lightning. And so let me just throw in some Panthers talk.
It's a big deal.
Whoa, that is loud. Some Panthers talk. The Panthers have been the best team in the NHL since the All-Star break, but it's fairly obvious now. So that's the latest Lightning stuff. It's fairly obvious now that they can't keep that pace up. And Doug, like we talked about last podcast, they seem to be doing the Miami Heat thing where they have the best team for the second half of the season, but they start losing steam at the end because it's just too hard to sustain that momentum for basically what is a third of the season or what have you. So it looks like the Panthers may finally lose some steam and may miss out on the playoffs by maybe a point or two, which is going to be disappointing, but it's great that they went on this run in the first place, but it's still going to suck at the end.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's good. It's something to build on for next year for sure. Kind of like what the Heat have done this year, is they built on last year's late run success to make sure they're in the playoffs this year. And they've, over the course of the entire season, they've been a little more consistent. So hopefully the Panthers repeat the same next year. But it's definitely tough to see your team get so close, and in the end, just they can't fight anymore.
Yeah,
and that happens when you kind of get behind the ball a little bit so much earlier in the season, and you have such a big hole to climb out. But I mean, still, regardless, it's a fantastic run, and they deserve all the credit for showing the heart that they've shown.
I mean, they have the slimmest chance if they win out and the New Jersey Devils somehow fall apart in these last few games, but it doesn't seem likely right now, especially with the fact that they face Boston 2 more times and the Nashville Predators. So that's the thing with the Panthers. But here we have the Tampa Bay Lightning and their remaining schedule, as well as their latest escapades and their wins. So they had a 3-game losing streak. Wow, did not even notice that.
Wait, who is a 3-game losing streak?
I thought the Lightning. They had a 3-game losing streak until they beat the Rangers last game.
I was gonna say we won the other night, but
it's very surprised by that.
Yeah, it's been a very tough go of things.
Yeah,
also that music that popped on was just a video clip of the Lightning Rangers game on ESPN, and they just have auto video pop.
Yeah, they always do that. What was it? Our last video got demonetized because apparently the NHL doesn't like us using their clips. So I'm avoiding that in this one. We only accumulated 1 cent before the NHL got wind of it.
Well, hey, we can officially say that we're professional podcasters now, and no one can take that away from us.
Okay, so the Lightning they beat the New York Rangers. They needed to beat them. Look at that, a pounding. But
when I saw that, the first thing that came to my mind was there's where all those goals were from the past couple of games. That's a bludgeoning 7 goals.
Yeah, that's. But the 3-game losing streak is where they lost finally. Especially that loss to Boston at the end. That's where basically where the Bruins surpassed them in a sense.
The good news is we play them twice more, the Bruins, and then we're actually playing Nashville tonight.
Yeah, Nashville is I think they're doing the Florida back-to-back.
Mm.
So they'll get the Lightning first, and then they'll face the Panthers, which will be good for the Panthers because hopefully the Lightning can work the Predators and make them tired so that when they come to Sunrise, the Panthers can hopefully nab the 2 points and hopefully the Devils lose. But the Lightning didn't help the Panthers' cause by losing to the Devils 2-1.
Mm.
And the Lightning lost to the Arizona Coyotes of all teams. That was embarrassing.
Oh, that's a topic another day. Folding teams together in the NHL.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, that's something we'd like to talk. I mean, it's something that I've researched before, and I'd like to talk about in the future. But that's for another episode. So, yeah, that's
tuned.
the Lightning. Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah. So, anything more, Andrew? You want to talk about the NHL? Any surprises?
Not really. I mean, there's not really much to report on right now because things are kind of starting to settle in. I don't know. I'll come back in a couple of weeks once everything is officially sorted out, and then I'll get predictions.
I mean, the playoffs will be probably in the first round at that point. The next time we talk.
Yeah, they start the 11th of April, I believe. So it'll be in like 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, the NBA and the NHL playoffs are going to be running at the same time, so that's going to be great. All right, so finally, let's go to the next topic. Down here in South Florida, Wayne Huizenga is a name that either some people like, love, or hate. But his impact here has been pretty huge. Like, out of all the sports figures that have come down here, he's up there. He's up there on I would say I don't know if you call it Mount Rushmore, but I guess the Hall of Fame of South Florida professional sports. And Doug, I know you'd like to talk about it and expand on Wayne Huizenga and his impact down here.
Yeah, Wayne Huizenga has definitely been a polarizing figure in the South Florida landscape. For most the duration of his life. It's widely known down here for bringing the Dolphins, the Panthers, and
he bought the Dolphins.
Right, he bought the Dolphins, but he brought the Marlins and he brought the Panthers, MLB and NHL to South Florida. And I was talking with a guy at my job the other day, and he's a little bit older. He lived through that time, and he remembers the excitement in South Florida at that time when they found out they were getting an NHL team and an MLB team. It was a very, very big deal back then. Kind of I guess what we're experiencing today with David Beckham and MLS, but they actually had concrete plans back then, so it was that much better.
Yeah.
And without him, who knows? Who knows if we would have gotten, those pro teams in baseball and hockey. We are a big market, but there's other big markets out there that are missing the core sports teams. So he's definitely gets credit for that. He's a very successful businessman. He started Waste Management, Blockbuster, and AutoNation, which I believe are 3 Fortune 500 companies. He started all of them. I believe at the age of 25 years old, he started with a single garbage truck and a single route. And that's how he built Waste Management. And from there, it was history. So definitely a very, very successful person in their lifetime. Caught flack after the Marlins won the 1997 World Series championship for setting the blueprint that the Marlins still follow today in terms of blowing up the team, fire sailing, getting rid of all the players. It was questionable as to why he did it. A lot of fans hold grudges against him for that. I don't. No one's perfect, and you can't take away from the man and the successes he's had in his life. And if he could have done it over again, maybe seeing what the result was, maybe he would have decided to not pursue that strategy and build a legitimate championship contender down here in South Florida, which the Marlins were very capable of in that time. Just, the influx of a little bit more money, more talent. That's how you build the fan bases down here. You build fan bases here by winning. And Miami is no different than any other city. The Yankees, for a while, were not winning. Years and years ago, they were struggling with fans. So it's not just a Miami thing. It's every major city. That's what brings the fans. That's how you build the loyalty, the culture. When Huizenga cut down that 97 World Series championship team, it kind of stunted that growth. And we haven't really been able to get it going again here in South Florida. But, he's a very accomplished man. He's done a lot. He's given us a lot. So sad to hear about the passing.
I was listening on the radio on 560 WQAM. They're the one that I listen to the most. And they were talking to, I think, Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel.
Oh, I heard that segment.
Yeah, and basically the story about Wayne Huizenga and that 97 team. Apparently the story was that Al Leiter and a few of the players from that team, they knew he was going to break it up. I mean, it was basically known that if the Marlins didn't get a stadium out of basically winning the World Series and either Broward or Palm Beach or Miami-Dade didn't put up their own cash for building a stadium, that he would break that team up.
Okay.
He lost apparently, like, from what the story is, he lost like $40 million that season putting that team up because they had one of the highest payrolls in baseball at that point. He went all in on that season. They had to win. That was championship or bust. And they won it. They barely won it, but they won it. And it still wasn't enough for Wayne Huizenga when Al Leiter came in and he told him, I lost like, or maybe it wasn't 40, maybe it was like $10 million or something like that. But the Major League Baseball salaries weren't the same as they are today. I mean, they're still high, but compared to other sports. But he said that if you guys put up your own money, I'll keep the team together. And none of the players were willing to do that. So, and obviously, the Players Association probably wouldn't have been happy with that, especially after the strike happened 3 seasons prior. So, it was unfortunate that happened because it was, like you said, it stunted the growth of the Marlins. They were able to, out of the rubble of that 97 teams breakup, they built up the 2003 teams roster, but the rubble of the 2003 team couldn't make another championship after that. And we obviously got John Henry bought the team from Wayne Huizenga, but he made a smart decision in selling the Marlins and going for the Red Sox, as he's won 3 championships since then. And we got stuck with Jeffrey Loria, who destroyed the Montreal Expos and basically destroyed the Marlins and left Derek Jeter and crew with even worse rubble than when he entered.
Yep. How that man, Jeffrey Loria, was allowed to buy another team is amazing.
Yeah, it's Major League Baseball, Bud Selig and Rob Manfred are guilty for the destruction of South Florida, as Dan Lepetard had. We talked about it. We talked about it last podcast, so we won't go too much into it. But Wayne Huizenga, he was a pretty competent Dolphins owner, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He tried. He gave the Dolphins all the resources in the world to try and succeed, and just the Dolphins, being the Dolphins, couldn't do it. Dan Marino retired, and his final game was a blowout against the Jaguars in the playoffs. And the Nick Saban thing. I mean, we tried. Nick
Yeah, I think
Saban.
that was a good effort. I do think Nick Saban could have been successful in the NFL down here with the Miami Dolphins if that was where his heart was. But
I mean, he doesn't have a soul.
you know,
So.
right, exactly. So that's why he left.
Yeah, he doesn't have a
But
soul.
you know,
so it doesn't matter.
if he stayed here, I think the Dolphins would be in better shape. They would be in better shape today than they are right now. And you know, I think he would have been a good coach down here if he had elected to stay.
I mean, Jimmy
So
Johnson.
Yeah, you know, Huizenga made the right choices for the Dolphins. They just didn't necessarily work out. You know, there's only so much you can do when you're making the right decisions and they're not working out.
And obviously, the Dolphins' downfall was the fact that they never had a preparation plan for when Dan Marino retired.
Right.
They didn't have a plan. They're just like, okay, we don't need a quarterback. We just need an okay quarterback and a good team around them. But if you can't develop the good team around them, then you might as well do it the other way and have a really good quarterback, and then the good team will come. As Dan Marino went out, the Patriots machine was about to start. So
right.
Look what happened. And obviously for the Panthers, Huizenga was about to move the team to Nashville. That's
Really?
like they had plans for that before the 95-96 season because the Panthers were playing out of the Miami Arena. The Miami Arena was outdated the day it was built. Like the Heat and the Panthers were in an outdated building already when it was built. That's why they called it the Pink Elephant. But he was losing money on the Panthers, and he had plans to move it to Nashville or sell it to a group that was gonna put a team in Nashville. And obviously, a couple seasons later, the Predators were built. But that 95-96 run, the year of the Rat, saved the franchise. And Huizenga, being a Broward guy, was more than happy that Broward County put up the money to build what is now the BB&T Center. And now the Panthers have a permanent home for at least the next decade going on with the new ownership. But that 95-96 season, I mean, Huizenga, once again, he gave his teams all the resources that they needed. He was a visionary when it came to that, and the Panthers had the resources. He had a great staff to build that 96 team. And until the Golden Knights came by, the Panthers had the best inaugural team of all time. So, and he finally built the BB&T Center, the house that Huizenga built. So amongst the Panthers fans, he's a hero. They finally retired his number this season, number 37, which is the year he was born, and his favorite number. And it was basically his last public appearance before he died. So I guess finally he saw as far as his sports endeavors were concerned, because he's major successful once again, Blockbuster, Waste Management, AutoNation, and what have you. He finally saw something, and he got a ring in '97, and finally one of the teams honored him forever with an accolade such as the retirement of a number. So rest in peace to Wayne Huizenga, his family. He's done a lot of philanthropy and stuff, and I'm sure his family, they almost owned the Heat at one point. That's another story.
Yeah.
He almost had all four, but Mickey Arison stepped in, vetoed it. But yeah, what a great man, and something we hope to all aspire to one day, if we ever could own a franchise. So, yeah. Okay. So, finally, we're going to go on to our last topic. We are hitting the 1 hour mark, and then we'll finally close it out. So, it is the opening week of Major League Baseball. It started on Thursday, March 29th, and things have, it's baseball. It's exciting. The beginning of the season, no matter how terrible you think your team is going to be, the first day is always really fun, really exciting. Maybe and you just, I don't know. I always have a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, the Marlins cannot make me sad. Can just not.
Well, they failed on the first pitch to
Oh,
start the season.
oh God. Yeah, it was the opening day for the Marlins. It was weird. It was really weird, and it's par for the course for this franchise. So the pregame stuff, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Doug tweeted me while we were both at work. Doug tweeted me this from Mark Hochman. He's one of the radio hosts for 560 WQAM, and it was it was basically the pregame show that they did before the game at Marlins Park, before the Cubs Marlins opener. And Derek Jeter, being, guy with a lot of clout, he got DJ Khaled to come by and do a little pregame, like, not even a concert. It was just like a hype thing. So DJ Khaled's doing his set. And it's probably like 40 minutes before first pitch. The seats aren't full. People are starting getting into the ballpark. The traffic around Marlins Park is horrible. So, and it's probably lunch rush at that time. So there's probably like maybe 5,000 people in the stands who got there early to watch batting practice or whatever. And they're probably mostly Cubs fans, so they don't really care about DJ Khaled. And they're obviously not there for him. He holds up his mic. He's like, Miami, Marlins fans, let me hear you make some noise. He holds up his microphone, and you just hear. And Mark Hochman, he said he turned his volume up all the way just to make it seem like, look, I'm not messing with you. This is actually happening. There's nobody cheering, and you see DJ Khaled's face like nobody's cheering. Like, this has never happened to me before.
There's nobody there. I'm pretty sure the air conditioners were louder than the fans, the few thousand fans that were in the stands.
God, the Marlins, dear Lord, I applaud the effort. Jeffrey Loria could never get someone like him to come by, but that could have been better thought through.
Absolutely.
That should have been like a post game concert on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean that's usually how those things are done in the first place. When people don't show up early to games down here in Miami for pretty much any team, whether it be the Marlins or the Heat.
Yeah.
There definitely was not going to be a big crowd there. Maybe they kind of thought, if they put the word out there that they were going to have a performance, that they were going to have a celebrity like DJ Khaled performing with the new Marlins theme song, that people would make the effort to get there earlier. But it's not happening, especially in the on a weekday. It wasn't happening. It was just it was bad. It was bad to witness that.
Yeah, and then finally the game actually started, and Jose Urena gives up a home run on the first pitch of the season, and basically the Marlins were eliminated from the playoffs right there.
That was like a poetic first pitch right there, just like in one stroke, just ending the Marlins season right then and there. It was unbelievable. But the Marlins are actually playing decent.
Yeah. Yeah, they won in the 17-inning game on game 2, and then last night they lost in extra innings again. So they're giving it to the Cubs. But it's opening week. I don't think you'll really know what these teams exactly. You'll probably start to see things kind of getting to normal, maybe 2 weeks in, or maybe at least to a month. The first month is just kind of weird.
Right. Especially like once the season starts, really weighing down on these young players that haven't been on this level before.
Yeah.
The fatigue factor sets in.
Or the struggles.
Right. The slumps. Things they haven't dealt with before. It's definitely going to be a long year for the Marlins. Yeah. Like it's good now, but they're definitely going to hit their bumps in the road in the future as they face these obstacles that every baseball player, every veteran baseball player has to deal with, and they're so young and this is all new, and they're still learning. So it's going to be quite the season.
Hey Andrew, how'd the Rays do?
Well, we have another game coming up today against the Red Sox, but so far we're 1-2 on the season. That first game though was really special because we were down. Well, first off, this is the 20th anniversary of the Rays.
That's true.
As a matter of fact, yesterday was exactly the 20th
night
anniversary of the first game. They did a whole throwback thing. They wore old school jerseys. The broadcasters called themselves the Devil Rays the whole time. It was a lot of fun. But on the first game, which was Thursday, the Rays were down 4-0 going into the 8th, and then they put up a 6 spot in that inning, and then went on to win 6-4.
Nice.
Which was capped off by a 3-run triple by Denard Span, who was acquired this offseason in the trade that gave the San Francisco Giants Evan Longoria.
Yeah, the franchise player. I mean, he's basically gonna get his number retired there.
Yeah, and I've always said I'm not the kind of person to get a jersey with a player's name and number on it because I don't. You never know if somebody's gonna leave. But if I were to get a jersey, that would probably be his name would probably be on it because he is the franchise player. But so yeah, we're off to a 1-2 start, which I guess is to be expected. This is going to be a rebuilding year.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the '98 season. Now for the Marlins, it's the 25th anniversary, and we have our glorious, like I said last time, our glorious 25th anniversary logo with the teal that I love and I cherish every day. Every time I see a Marlins game and I see that, I can't get mad at Derek Jeter. I just can't. I love him.
All is forgiven.
We're losing 11-5, but you know what? That right sleeve, that looks great.
Stanton's out in New York hitting 2 home runs.
That was
debut,
bad.
But
that was as bad as it could be for us. He hits 2 home his first at bat, and he hits a home run opposite field to right field against the Toronto Blue Jays, and it was recorded as the fastest opposite field home run exit velocity since they started tracking the darn thing.
Typical Stanton laser home run.
Exactly. I mean, he just looks. He's gonna.
He's locked in. It's scary because Stanton always, with the Marlins, he has pretty much always started the season slow. Mm-hmm. And for him to be locked in game 1 on day 1, oh man, this is good. If I hope he stays healthy because if he can play the full season, he is absolutely. He will absolutely hit over 60 home runs. He is in the zone right now, and that is scary for every pitcher that has to go up against him, against a locked-in Giancarlo Stanton.
Oh, gosh, the Yankees are going to be good. It's going to be bad.
They're going to be real good. They're going to be so good.
Yeah, I tell you, him closing his stance made a lot of difference.
Yeah, we talked about that before. If you see his early at-bats when he first came up, I mean, his batting stance was just kind of weird. He just didn't look that comfortable. I mean, he had the power, but he didn't have the technique just yet. And now, whew, dear Lord, it's going to be the Yankees and the Astros for the American League Championship again. It's just going to be that way. Yeah, the Astros are locked in too. I mean, they lost 1 game to the Rangers, but they beat them yesterday. They beat them that first game. Last night they beat them like 9-3. Like the Astros are locked in. They're ready for this. It's gonna be interesting. So the season started. What do you guys think is gonna be the since I'll just start my predictions for the end of the season. Like what will be the playoff seeds? For me, the Yankees will win the American League East. I don't think the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox will just be the Red Sox and they'll be back to cowering to the Yankees as they used to before 2004. Okay. The Astros will take the West because there's no team there that will be able to challenge them. Maybe the Angels can do something, but I don't know. Then the Central, I guess I'll have to give it to the Indians. The Tigers are going to rebuild. The Royals are rebuilding. The White Sox might be better this season, but I don't think they'll make that jump. And the Minnesota Twins, they might have like that same syndrome the Astros had where they made the playoffs one year and then the next season they just had like that sophomore slump. So I kind of feel the Twins will be that way. So it'll be the Indians taking the Central, and finally the wild cards. The Red Sox will take one of the wild cards, and I'd have to give the second wild card to. I'd probably give it to Minnesota, but I don't think they would. It basically be the same teams from last season. I don't know who would make a surprise. Maybe the Angels could, but the Angels kind of disappoint people every once in a while. But maybe Shohei Ohtani will be the spark that they need to finally get over the hump. So those are my predictions for the East, or for the American League. What about you guys, AL?
I have it pretty much exactly the same as you. I have the Yankees taking the AL East, the Indians taking the AL Central, but I think it's a close battle of the Twins. I think the Twins unlike you, I think the Twins make another step in their development this year, and we see a good AL Central fight. In the West, of course, you gotta give it to the Astros, and I'll have the Twins taking the wild card.
Okay. What about the second wild card? Do you think the Red Sox will take it?
Second wild card, yeah, I'll give it. It will be close between the Red Sox and the Angels, but I do think the Red Sox take it.
Okay. How about you, Andrew? The Rays?
I'm pretty much on board with you guys. Yankees.
It's pretty much the consensus around the whole country.
Right. I will say though that the Orioles could surprise you out of the East. You've got Adam Jones, Manny Machado. I think they could be a dark horse in the East.
Good call.
Royals, well, no, they lost everybody.
Yeah, that core. They got the championship when they needed to get it.
Right.
Sorry, Kelly.
I would love to see the Mariners do some damage, especially now that they have Ichiro back. They might have a shot, but I do think the Astros have the West. I'll say give it to the Indians right now in the Central. As for the wild cards, I'd say probably. You know what? I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I'm going to say Orioles and Twins.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Boston would not be happy if that ends up being the case.
Oh, that'd be so great if Boston wasn't happy. Okay. All right. So the National League, East, I think will go to the Washington Nationals again. They've been feasting. They've been feasting on the NL East for the last few years, but the NL East has been pretty weak, other than when the Mets won the division and the National League Championship. But
Right.
I think they'll win it again. The Phillies will make a step forward, but it won't be this year. I think the Phillies will make their step next season, when the Nationals will probably lose Bryce Harper after choking in the first round again, and he gets $400 million to play for somebody, L.A. or New York or Boston or somebody. And finally, the Central will probably be the Chicago Cubs again. I think the Cardinals will make a push, but I think they're at the tail end of this core with Yadi Molina, and they can't sustain this momentum for this long. They've been pretty good for the last 20 years, but at some point they have to rebuild or at least have a slump, and I think they're getting into that slump. So the Brewers, I'm not sold on the Brewers. I mean, I know they made some strides last season, but I'm still not sold on them. They got Christian Yelich from Miami, but I have to see more from them. I think the way that they fell off last season, I think they haven't completely remedied everything as far as their pitching is concerned. And the Cubs are just that gigantic powerhouse right now that won't yield in the Central. And finally, the West, the Dodgers have been throwing money at everybody, and they'll win it again. It's their World Series a bust this year, so they have to win the West. The West is going to be pretty competitive. I think out of all the divisions this season, it'll be the West that'll be the most competitive, with that, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. The Giants made their push to try and the even year magic for 2018 to see if they can make the playoffs again. But I don't think it'll work. They just lost Madison Bumgarner until like the All-Star break. So they lost their ace, and they're not going to be able to make that up. The same thing happened to them last season. They lost Bumgarner, and they just had a horrible season. I don't think Evan Longoria and Andrew McCutchen will be able to resurrect that franchise for this season. They'll probably have to start over. I think they're like the Cardinals. They're going to lose it. It's just they can't sustain that long. I think the Giants had their little dynasty there, and it's over. So the wild cards, I think the wild cards will be the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they'll play well enough with Ozuna there and the reinvigorated offense that they'll make one of the wild card spots, and I think they'll probably face off against the Arizona Diamondbacks, because I can't trust the Rockies playing at Coors Field. I can't trust their pitch. I mean, some years they have the pitchers and the offense necessary to get them over the hump at that ballpark, but I just can't trust everything unless they have the humidor running on super high over there. All right, you guys.
You first, Doug.
Okay. So in the NL East, got the Nationals up top, but of course they'll choke in the playoffs. They'll be a non-factor in the playoffs. So it's a typical Washington Nationals year. NL Central, you gotta give it to the Cubs. They're just a machine right now. They're only going to be getting better as the season progresses. Joe Madden had stated that this was the best training they've had so far. Last year's spring training coming off of the World Series, it was a little bit of a hangover year for them. But apparently the spring training, the Cubs are looking good. Mm-hmm. So Cubs take the NL Central. NL West, I'm with you, Francisco. I'm giving it to the Dodgers. They're just throwing so much money at the thing that they're gonna outspend everybody to clinch the NL West. Yeah. And for the wild card teams, I'll give it to the Giants. You know, I like what they've done with adding McCutchen and Evan Longoria, and you know they're a team that tends to play very well above people's expectations. and
I
they've
can see
started
that.
it off. They've started the year off good. They're 2-1. I think they keep rolling. So I'll give the wild card to the Giants. And then my second wild card prediction, I guess to make it interesting, believe it or not, I'm going to give it to the Mets. I'm going to give it to the New York Mets. If their pitching staff can regain their form, because a lot of them are coming off major injuries, so it's a big if for the Mets. But if they can regain their form and sustain it through the year and see a sustained success, along with their batting lineup, I think has enough pop. Michael Conforto I think he had a shoulder injury over the off season, but he's looking so good right now. He's starting the year off on the DL, but he had at-bats in spring training. He was just hitting like home runs and like doubles, triples, RBIs. He was looking amazing, coming off an injury that people weren't sure, if he'll be able to rebound so quickly. And they got Mr. New York on the team, Todd Frazier. Yankees traded for Todd Frazier last year. He was a great chemistry guy for the team, a great rah-rah guy in the playoff run, and now the Mets have him. So I think the Mets are primed to take the other wild card spot.
Okay. That's pretty cool. That'd be interesting, actually.
Yeah, for sure. But at the end of the day, I think the Cubs take the NL and they're back, in the World Series.
Okay, so what about you, Andrew?
Well, once again, I'm pretty much in agreement with you all. Nationals should probably take the East Division. Cubs will probably take the Central. Dodgers, well, see, I agree with you, though. I think the West is going to be the most contested of the divisions. I could easily see it coming down to the last few games between the Dodgers and the Giants.
So you don't see the Dodgers running away with it?
No.
Mm-hmm.
But at least for now, just to play it safe, I'll say go with the Dodgers for the West. But like Doug said, I'll give one of the wild card spots to the Giants. And I hate making predictions.
I think the bottom, like the wild card spot, will be the most competitive out of all of them. The second wild card, because I can see a lot of teams be on the bubble.
Cardinals, I have to say.
Okay.
The other one. See, I'm a catcher at heart, so I put a lot of faith into catchers, and the Cardinals and the Giants have two of the best in Yadier Molina for the Cardinals and Buster Posey for the Giants.
So you see them basically guiding their staff to victory.
Pretty much, yeah. Especially Posey, as was pointed out, Madison Bumgarner is done for a while, but that can be overcome with a really good catcher who can train the staff and keep everyone's confidence up. So I think the Giants will have a good push this year. Not to mention it's an even year.
Yeah. All right. So that's our predictions. We won't make World Series predictions until the playoffs start, because who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Okay. So we're at 1 hour 24 minutes. So we're gonna make our closing remarks, guys. Closing statements. So I don't think they murdered. Oh no, wait. This isn't law school. Never mind. I'm gonna make my argument.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I guess who wants to go first?
Sure. I guess I'll go, and then I guess I want to make one last remark about Scott Foster.
Oh, yes.
Scott
What an
Foster.
amazing story.
Okay, so the National Hockey League has this thing called the emergency backup, where basically if something goes horribly wrong, where one of the teams has both of their goalies that are usually on the bench, usually on the roster, go down, they can pick somebody else to be the emergency goalie. Just anybody. They could just sign them for the day, sign them for the game, and they'll put on a jersey, put on their gear, and get in the game. So the NHL instituted a rule where there has to be an emergency backup in the arena at all times. So they usually, I see them. He's usually up at the press box, eating chips and popcorn and stuff. But last maybe a few nights ago, the Chicago Blackhawks are facing the Winnipeg Jets, and Scott Foster, an accountant by day, 36 years old, who hadn't played any really meaningful hockey since he was at Western Michigan University 15 years ago. He was called upon to actually play in the game. So, mind you, the normal thing is that these guys never play. These guys usually just sit on the bench and the backup goalie just sucks it up and keeps playing. Well, the Blackhawks backup goalie couldn't. He just couldn't. He was really, really injured. He couldn't play. So Scott Foster comes in. The Blackhawks are winning 6-2, and there's 14 minutes left. So he has 14 minutes to survive NHL level talent. And Andrew, can you summarize what happened?
He made 7 stops. He didn't let anything hit. He pitched a shutout in 14 minutes, and a couple of those saves were just absolutely incredible. Textbook type stuff. And don't do it, Francisco. You'll get demonetized.
I know. I just want to show him a little bit. I'm sure 10 seconds won't kill the NHL. But there he is. That's him. That's Scott Foster actually coming into the game. And
yeah, he
actually made a really good save. I think it's
right
that
here.
On Paul
He made one thing in particular that was like true NHL quality. It was around the 4-minute mark remaining in the period.
So yeah, that's Scott Foster. He got the first star of the game.
Yeah. Like that's awesome.
Could you imagine, Doug? Could you imagine you're sitting at Marlins Park, and let's say they had an emergency catcher position. They're just like, "Yo, can you do this for us?"
Throw me in, coach. I'm ready. I brought my glove to the game for a reason.
You ever catch a 95-mile-per-hour fastball?
Dude, every day. Every day. I probably wouldn't even see it. It'll probably hit me in the head, and they'd have to take me out on a stretcher.
Okay, we need the emergency player.
Right.
Again. I'm hoping, you know what, every league should have that. Every league.
That would be fun.
Okay, like for baseball, it would probably be like an emergency catcher, because there aren't too many catchers out there.
Right.
It's such a skilled position, you can't have too many people out there that can do it. For football, what would it be in football? A
probably
kicker?
Quarterback. Well, kicker.
Well, anybody, I don't know. Or, no, an emergency center. That person would have to be in every play. All right, you're just going to line up here. Just ignore Ndamukong Suh. That's fine. Just let him walk by. Just ignore him. That's fine. And in basketball, what would it be? It'd be hard in basketball to have a position like that.
Yeah, I really think you can only do it in hockey, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. That's an hour and a half. I'm gonna call it. So we did this a lot shorter than the last one. So hopefully, more concise, much better. I'm glad you guys came by this Sunday morning on Easter Sunday. So thank you, Doug, for coming by.
No
I
problem.
don't have an Xbox. I wish I did, so I could play you more. But you're Meridian one on Xbox. And then DampFrijoles. I wish I had a PS4, but I don't. But you're DampFrijoles on PSN. That. Yeah, we're actually gonna do that.
We're terrible for playing games with each other because we all have different consoles.
Exactly. We got a Switch, we got a PS4, and we got an Xbox One.
Yeah, and I was telling Andrew, like, you and Andrew own a Mac, but I have a PC, and then me and Doug own iPhones, but Andrew owns an Android.
We're just completely incompatible.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we could play like Fortnite or PUBG mobile now that they released those games on mobile. So maybe we could play that together. But I was trying to get us to play like some old sports games on emulators on here. So that's an idea I'm going to throw around, but we still got to work out the kinks for that. But that's all, everybody. Yeah. So take care. Have a good night, good evening, good whatever.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Passover, and enjoy your Sunday. So, ciao. Bye-bye.